Look at the edge of any American highway. To a road crew or an industrial farmer, this plant is a nuisance. A woody, unruly weed that clogs drainage and demands a heavy dose of herbicide. But step inside a pharmacy during flu season. Look behind the glass. You'll find extracts of this exact same weed selling for $50 a bottle. We have spent decades bulldozing our most potent natural medicine just to make room for more corn, only to buy it back in an overpriced plastic bottle. This is the story of the elderberry, a fruit so potent it creates a biological barrier against pathogens, yet so humble it's been forgotten by a world that values speed over substance. To understand what we lost, we have to go back, in 400 BC. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, didn't rely on synthetic compounds. He pointed to the elder tree. He called it his medicine chest. To him, every part was a tool: the bark, the leaves, the flowers, and the dark, heavy clusters of berries. They were his answer to everything from respiratory infections to systemic inflammation. In the old forests of northern Europe, this wasn't just a plant, it was a presence. Folklore spoke of the elder mother, a spirit dwelling within the wood. Farmers wouldn't dare prune a branch without a prayer for permission. We call that superstition today. But back then, it was a sophisticated system of resource management. It ensured this lifeline was never harvested to extinction. The plant's very name, Sambucus, echoes through our history. It comes from the Sambuc, a small ancient harp. Why? Because the elder's branches have a soft pith that's easily hollowed out, leaving behind a hard, resonant tube. It was literally the wood that gave the ancients their music. Even your favorite Italian liqueur Sambuca carries this heritage. While modern versions lean on star anise, the original recipes were built on elderberry syrup. It wasn't just a drink, it was a digestive tonic. Medicine in a glass. If you want to move beyond the plastic bottle and reclaim this knowledge, here is the Elderberry Protocol. First, identification. Look for the flat-topped clusters of white flowers in spring turning into deep purple, almost black berries by late summer. Second, the rule of heat. Never eat them raw. The seeds contain compounds that must be neutralized by cooking. Third, preparation. Simmer the berries with ginger, cinnamon, and raw honey. You aren't just making a syrup, you're concentrating a summer's worth of soil nutrients into a winter's shield. The modern world has forgotten how to give this plant what it requires: time and participation. But the soil hasn't forgotten us. If you're ready to stop spraying the medicine and start harvesting it, hit subscribe. Let's remember what was lost. It was the ultimate medicine chest of the American wilderness. A plant that crafted flutes, cured winters, and bridged the gap between ancient tribes and the first settlers. Then in the 1970s, it almost vanished. Not because it was useless, but because it was in the way of progress. This is the story of the elderberry, and why its return is the most important thing in your kitchen today. Long before the first commercial orchards, the Sambucus canadensis was everywhere. Native tribes didn't just harvest it, they lived with it. They hollowed out the stems for maple taps and blowguns. They dried the berries into rich preserves for the lean months. When European settlers arrived, they didn't need to plant it. They simply looked toward the creek beds and fence lines. It was a shared language of survival. So how did something so essential disappear? Enter 1971. Earl Butz, the Secretary of Agriculture, issued a cold ultimatum to the American farmer: get big or get out. The era of the diverse family farm was over. Industry replaced husbandry. To feed the massive tractors, the landscape had to be flattened. Farmers were pushed to plant from fence row to fence row. The hedgerows, those wild, messy borders of shrubs and life, were ripped out. Millions of miles of habitat were destroyed just to squeeze in a few more rows of industrial soy. We traded our natural medicine for cheap animal feed. Our palates changed with the landscape. The post-war era was the age of convenience. We wanted snackable fruit, blueberries, and grapes that were sweet, firm, and safe to eat straight from a plastic box. The elderberry is none of those things. It's tart. It stains your hands. And if you treat it like a common strawberry, it can be dangerous. This is where the plant demands respect. The leaves, stems, and raw berries contain sambunagrin, a compound your body converts into hydrogen cyanide. It won't necessarily kill you, but it will cause severe nausea and weakness. This plant requires a ritual. To safely unlock the power of the elderberry, you must follow the protocol. First, ensure every trace of the green stem is removed. Second, never consume the fruit raw. Third, boil the berries for a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes. Heat is the key. It degrades the toxic glycosides, rendering the fruit perfectly safe while concentrating its staggering medicinal chemistry. The industrial food system abandoned the elderberry because it couldn't be tamed by a machine. But the science hasn't changed. By bringing this plant back, we aren't just reclaiming a superfood. We are reclaiming the edges of the world we were told to flatten. Marketing campaigns have lied to you. They've spent millions crowning the cultivated blueberry as the king of antioxidants. It's a clean, profitable narrative. But if you look at the raw data from the USDA, the crown slips. A standard blueberry contains about 386 milligrams of anthocyanins. Impressive, sure. But the elderberry, it packs 1,375 milligrams into that same handful. That's not just a slight edge. That is 4 times the biological power. In the world of immune defense, the elderberry isn't just a supplement. It's a mechanical barrier. Think about how a virus works. During a landmark study in Norway, researchers watched as patients with flu A and B recovered 4 days faster just by using elderberry extract. Here's why viruses have tiny protein spikes. Think of them as keys. They use these keys to unlock and hijack your cells. But the flavonoids in elderberries act like liquid lead. They bind to those spikes. They gum up the keyhole. The virus can't turn the lock. It can't enter. It can't replicate. It is a physical, functional defense system provided by the earth, not a laboratory. Eventually, the market couldn't ignore the science anymore. In 2020, everything changed. Demand exploded. Elderberry sales in the US went vertical, screaming past $275 million a year. But look at the irony. For decades, our industrial agricultural system sprayed, bulldozed, and poisoned wild elderberries to make room for clean monoculture crops. Now, those same companies are scrambling to import concentrate from Europe to fill plastic bottles. We destroyed the free medicine in our backyards just to pay a premium for a processed version at the pharmacy. We traded a resilient ecosystem for a fragile supply chain. It's time to opt out of that cycle. You don't need a prescription or a plastic bottle. You need a shovel. Here is the protocol for taking back your health. First, stop treating your land like a manicured rug. Elderberries thrive in the spots most plants die: the wet, boggy corners, the drainage ditches, and the partial shade. If you live in USDA zones 3 through 9, this plant wants to grow for you. It's hardy, it's fast, and it's arguably the easiest medicinal crop in North America. Stop buying the marketing. Plant the weed. Build your own armory, one ditch at a time. One single bite. That is all it takes for the root of a water hemlock to end an adult life. Before you go searching for the healing power of elderberry, you must understand the stakes. Nature isn't just a pharmacy. It's a landscape of high-consequence choices. To the untrained eye, life and death look remarkably similar. Elderberry is a potent biological tool. It doesn't just help your health, it overclocks your immune system. By stimulating your cytokines, it pushes your internal defenses into high gear. But this power comes with a warning. If you struggle with autoimmune conditions like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, this surge can trigger a flare-up. It is a medicine of intensity, and intensity requires respect. We lost our connection to this plant because we chose convenience. We traded the elder mother for $50 plastic bottles of syrup and the sterile safety of the industrial food system. We stopped growing it because it required us to step outside to cook and to care. We traded vitality for ease. It's time to make the trade back. To do this safely, you need a protocol. First, identification. Look at the stems. Elderberry is woody, filled with a soft white pith. Water Hemlock is herbaceous, dying back to the ground with hollow chambered stems that hide their poison. Look at the fruit. Elderberry hangs in heavy drooping clusters as autumn approaches. Water Hemlock seeds stand tall, mimicking umbrellas. And beware of pokeweed. It carries its toxic berries on a single neon pink stalk, unlike the branching clusters of the elderberry. The golden rule is simple. If you are not 100% certain, you do not touch it. The most secure path is to bring the wild into your own yard. You don't even need seeds. Elderberry propagates through hardwood cuttings. Buy dormant sticks from reputable sources like Stark Brothers or Fedco. Plant them in the spring. These plants crave nitrogen, so bury them under heavy layers of compost and wood chips. Remember, they are partially self-sterile. You need a community. Plant at least 2 different varieties, like Adams and York, within 60 feet of each other to ensure they can cross-pollinate. Within 2 years, you won't just have a shrub. You'll have pounds of medicine. Reclaiming the elderberry is about more than fighting the flu. It is about restoring the edge we lost. You don't need a massive investment. You need a shovel, a damp patch of earth, and the patience to let the earth do its work. If you're ready to stop buying and start growing, join us. There are more lost crops to find. See you in the garden.